Matt, this is a fight where two guys are possibly at the crossroads because we have Johnny Walker taking on Nikita Krylov. And Matt, in Johnny Walker's last fight, it was a loss to Corey Anderson, a fight that a lot of people had picked him to win, I believe, ourselves included. Yeah. Now, I want to say this. Johnny Walker, for as flashy as his striking is, if you look at the losses, they're finishes. He's lost by finish, and he's taking on a proven finisher in Ukraine's Nikita Krylov. And this is a guy that his first run in the UFC was masterful. He lost to Misha Serkinov, and then he decided to take some time away. He asked for his release from the UFC. Fights with a couple of different promotions, namely Fight Nights Global. Again, 4 finishes, so he comes back to the UFC. He's 1-2 since he's come back. But Matt, the losses are against good competition. I mean, Jan Blachowicz, who's right up there in title conversation, then he gets a win over OSP. And in his last fight, yeah, it didn't go his way, but still, he's very sneaky. Now, Matt, you've got one X factor with Nikita Krylov. Let's talk about it.
He's the best worst grappler I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a guy do so well from top position, but so poorly off his back. It's uncanny. Sarah McMahon's the only other person who I can think where they're so good on top and they're such a dominant wrestler, even though he's more jiu-jitsu-esque, but still, they're just really good on top. Look for head and arm chokes a lot. Really good with the ground and pound. But when they're on their back, not that he looks lost because he does have a really good triangle choke, but that's the only thing he offers up off his back. We see 90% of his fights, him just trying to stall on the ground, trying to force a stand-up. Now, luckily, I don't think that's going to be a factor in this fight. I have an X factor for Johnny Walker, though. After Johnny Walker lost to Corey Anderson, he blamed everyone but himself for that loss. And even though he's going to TriStar, even though he's training with a new coach, that's something you always have to worry about. It's never a good sign when a fighter blames their trainer, their girlfriend, then their trainer again, then their nutritionist, and then fires the trainer and goes to a new gym. That's making excuses. And hopefully he is in a better situation with Firas Zahabi, training with some world-class guys over at TriStar. But that's always a very concerning thing to see. All that being said, I do think Johnny Walker's still quite a bit better of a striker than Nikita Krylov is. I think the Corey Anderson knockout is going to be a bit of a wake-up for him because Corey Anderson, his striking's not great, but it opens up because there's so much threat of the wrestling. Krylov doesn't really have that as much, so if it's going to be stand-up, it's going to be primarily kickboxing, and at that range, Johnny Walker's quite a bit better.
Yeah, Matt, this is the weird thing because you talked about it. The fact that Johnny Walker, he's one of those guys that'll switch up his camps all the time. And we've seen it where maybe it wasn't because of a camp switch, but he's represented England when he was in Brazil. And then when he was training for his Corey Anderson fight, spent a little bit of time in Dublin training. Then he went to Russia and he represented Russia and he was really focusing a lot on the wrestling. And that did not help him out against Corey Anderson. So this time, he goes to TriStar. He's training with the George St. Pierre's of the world, Firas Zahabi. He's training with your KSW welterweight champ, who's got a big fight coming up in Roberto Soldic.
Who walks around at basically the same weight as Johnny Walker.
More or less, and a lot of power, too. Now, in this Nikita Krylov fight, this is a really tough one to try and predict. If we look at the odds, they're actually very close. Johnny Walker, a slight favorite, minus 145. Nikita Krylov, plus 120. If you look over on Tapology to 475 votes, 74% going with Johnny Walker, whereas 81% are predicting a knockout. Matt, how do you see this fight in the end?
I don't think we're going to see one of those crazy Johnny Walker, like what he did to Misha Serkinov, a flying knee. I don't think he's going to get knockout in that first minute. I think we are going to see kind of the best representation of what Johnny Walker's going to be in the future, because we've seen him get fast finishes and be finished quite quickly himself. We've never really seen, okay, what does second round Johnny Walker look like, much less third round? So I would really like to see him kind of get into, not necessarily a war, but let's actually see what his skills are. Let's not see him just go out there and blow the doors off someone. And I hope Nikita Krylov doesn't do the same to him, just for the case that I want to see where his skill set is and where he really belongs in the UFC. Krylov's the perfect guy to give him to for that because he's just kind of good at everything. Not many massive holes in his game, except for if you can take him down. I think it's a really well-matched fight. With all that being said, I just feel like the speed and the power is still on Johnny Walker's side, and he's a little bit more dynamic of a striker. So for that, I think he's going to win, and I think he will get the finish at some point, but I don't think it's going to be the classic Johnny Walker highlight 1-minute knockout.
As long as the light heavyweight version of Michel Pereira doesn't do anything stupid like Pereira did against Diego Sanchez or waste his gas tank like he did against Tristan Connolly, I'm going to side with you, and I'm going to go with Johnny Walker. But a very evenly matched fight. I can certainly see a path to victory as well for Krylov. Look at it. Klidson Abreu, who's also in the UFC, has a second-round submission win over Johnny Walker. So it's very interesting, and you're not going to want to miss the rest of our predictions for UFC Brasilia with Fight Night Picks, Matt. As always, let's get into it.